Hi there, it's me, it's Mike. What I have for you today is Four Horsemen's Figura Obscura Ghost of Jacob Marley. Ooh! I have one question. Is this the ghost story that they talk about in that one song where they mention scary ghost stories? Because I just have never associated Christmas with ghost stories, I guess outside of this one, which is a pretty scary ghost story now that I think about it. If you're not familiar with what this is an offering from Four Horsemen. If you don't know who they are, I'm not going to go into it because they have a long and rich history with the toy world. You can Google that. But they kickstarted a line a long time ago that kind of formed into what we know as Mythic Legions today. And then that branched off into Cosmic Legions. And then back in 2021, they started a new subline called Figura Obscura. And all three of these lines that they have created, I kind of see as one big line that are kind of in sublines, I guess, but they share parts, they share styles. When you kind of get into it, you see a lot of patterns, you see a lot of stuff. So this is part of that. This is the 6th release of that, and the 3rd Christmassy Christmas time release. All of these kind of have the similar box style where this is the box. We have some fantastic artwork, the Figura Obscura logo on there. And then on the back is this nice little sort of write-up, and you can pause it if you want to read it. It's a long read, so I'm not going to read it, but it gives you a kind of a backstory for Jacob Marley if you've somehow never seen A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, or A Muppet Christmas Carol, or Mickey's Christmas Carol, which was actually my introduction to the Christmas Carol story. Just like the others, this is the actual figure, and it magnets on into this really cool like Dungeon Master screen, which is neat. And it serves for a really cool backdrop for the figure. You can see we have Scrooge here. We've got his bed chamber. Let's take a look real quick at the figure because I don't want to go too much into the plastic and the packaging because that's all it is. It's just packaging for what you really care about. And that is this. This is the star of the show. This is Jacob Marley. And doesn't he look fantastic? So this is how he comes right out of the package here. And I just want to talk about, a couple things. First, he is a ghost, but he's sort of like a ghost zombie hybrid because one of his defining features in every iteration is this bandage over his head, and this one has it too. And that's actually an important part of Jacob Marley's story because at the time, this is how they would bury dead people to keep their jaw from opening up. And you can see he actually, if you get in close here, he actually has little lines where the jaw looks like it can separate, where it's got little scars on the side right here. He's also got some rotting flesh on the head. He's got a really stern expression and some vacant white eyes. And everything's sort of in a bluish pearlescent, not pearlescent, but sort of a bluish grayish tint. Now, what I said earlier is that the three lines are kind of connected, and that's true in the sense that they all have pretty similar articulation for the most part, and they also share a lot of parts. There are some new parts on this, which is always nice to have. Now, they are kind of specific because this is a very spectral look to it, and we're getting some cool spectral stuff coming up in like the Necronominous wave. So I know this coat is new. I'm pretty sure these legs have been used before. The arms, I believe, are new. I think maybe the chest, obviously the head is new, and I believe this little ascot piece is new. So we have a lot new here. You'll notice on the feet, this is entirely translucent, and then it sort of goes into color. And the same on this jacket here, where it's a translucent plastic and it fades into color, giving it a very ethereal look, which I think is pretty cool. The Four Horsemen absolutely knock it out of the park in terms of deco and paint. And that's one of the cool things where I don't mind that they share a lot of parts or reuse a lot of parts, because the painting on there is always so good. It's always so unique. Figura Obscura Works is different from anything else that they do. Usually when Four Horsemen introduces a new product, they'll put it up for pre-order. In fact, they have a wave up for pre-order right now on storehorseman.com that's got like a bear and a bunch of just really cool looking figures and stuff in there from Mythic Legions. And you pre-order them now, and then they come out like a year or more from now, because they have to make them. You know, right now you're pre-ordering them, and they take all those pre-orders and they use that information to make the figures, you know, so they're not wasting money and stuff like that, which is smart. I wish more companies did it this way, honestly. But Figura Obscura is a little different, because when they come out, they're ready to go. Like, you buy them, and within a week or two you get them, unlike, say, the Poxus wave, where we pre-ordered that like 2 years ago at this point. No shade. I know they're coming out soon, but man, it feels like it's been a long time, and it has. It's very niche. Like, not everyone really needs a Jacob Marley figure in their collection, but I do. I want more. I want more stuff like this. I can't wait to see, you know, what they come out with in this line next year. Like, more literary stuff, please. So this is 60 bucks, which is pricey. And that's what I was saying, all that to kind of build up to the fact that this is a $60 figure. So it's not cheap, but it's not the most expensive I've seen. You know, it's not like a Mezco or even like a Metacom, or even an SH Figure Arts can be more than that, especially with how many accessories come with this. And they don't skimp on the accessories. So we have a high quality figure with really good paint deco. I will say, I kind of want you to see how much paint kind of fluffs off, because this is really painted. I have a couple spots here, like right here, where this is just a paint scuff. Like, that's all it is. And that kind of happens with these, is because they have real paint on them, and the paint kind of fluffs off and scrapes off as you're playing with it and moving it around. You know, that's what you get when you have paint versus just molded colored plastic, which is a drawback, but it's nice because it looks a lot nicer and you get a lot cooler effects. Other than the deco that I've talked about, the articulation on this isn't anything to write home about. It's honestly been traditionally one of the worst parts of the Four Horsemen's line is their articulation. Or it's not awful, but it's not great. Now they're getting better. They just released the Valiant Knight figure that has incredible articulation, and moving forward, more figures are gonna kind of move like that. But you know, we have a decent 90-degree bend at there, a lot of swivels. Waist has a good rotation on it. The head's got a good rotation on it. So it's not awful. Like, we have pretty deep single bends with swivels on the knees. You know, we got some good spread. The articulation is not bad, but like, there's no butterfly joints. There's nothing to write home about. You know, it's not a statue or anything. I don't love it. It's not my favorite part of the figure. It doesn't kill it. But it's not just the high quality figure. Like I said, it's also the plethora of accessories. We're gonna start off with two accessories that they're big misses for me. I do not care about them. And these are the door knockers. In the story, when Scrooge comes home the night, Christmas Eve night, he goes to knock on the door knocker, and it turns into Jacob Marley's face. It has an opening on the back, so you can kind of hang it. I mean, I guess I could hang these on the wall somewhere, but I don't know. Like, I don't really have anything to do with these. They're cool ideas. They're great for people with dioramas and whatnot. Maybe if someone wants to 3D print a door diorama for me that I can hang this up on, sure. It's a weird choice. I would have liked to see something else, but it's nice. They're kind of painted bronze, and they're accurate representations of his face here. After the door knockers, we have my favorite accessories, and that's hands. I think that every figure should come with more hands. These are the hands that come on the figure, and that is just the standard kind of C-grip cuppy hands where they're just meant for holding things. Now, he doesn't really come with anything really to hold. He kind of does, and I'll get into it. But there's no like weapons or like swords or anything like that, because he doesn't have any in the, in the book or movies or whatever you're watching or reading. Like, that's not what he's known for. But this one does have standard articulation. We have a swivel and a hinge. Same thing on this one, swivel and a hinge. So you've got that. But you can swap these out if you want to for a couple different pairs of hands. First, we have these. Next, we have these hands. And you might be saying, Mike, those are those are the same hands. What are you talking about? Well, yes, but actually no. They are the same hands, but now they're hinged to go up and down instead of left and right. So they go up and down like this. So, you know, depending on what you want him to hold or what kind of pose you want him, you have the options of moving his wrist either way with different pairs of hands, which on this figure is less necessary, but I'm not complaining that he comes with it. And it's nice to do that for other figures as well. But let's get into his real hands here. Here we go with his next set of hands. They're sort of just in like a rigger grasp, or it looks like he's kind of checking his dirt under his nails. It's a cool pose. I think his pinky's a little weird, like it's a little skinny. I think it's a little out of order or out of sorts. It's a good option for, you know, not just the grippy hands. We have just more kind of relaxed or cursed hands, depending on what kind of pose you want them to go in. You don't have to pretend that, you know, C grip hands are claw hands. He's got claw hands here. So you can really do that, which is neat. Now the hinge only goes one way on these, so there's not two sets of these hands, but you don't need it. I mean, this is good enough, honestly. This is good enough. But those aren't my favorite hands. Let's get into the last pair of hands. And that's these hands right here. These are splayed hands, and I absolutely love them. This right here is made for this figure. This is the figure that reaches out from the grave to say, Ebenezer Scrooge. This is the best. So you get a couple different options for hands, and you can mix and match. If you want to have one splayed out like this and one in the little claw grip, you can do that. It's your figure, and they give you options. You can display it how you want. I will probably be using this hand set because I think it's the most expressive hand set that he comes with. Now he comes with one other, I would say, body part swap option, and that is an alternate head. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. In the story, he removes his bandage and his mouth drops open. It says it hits him in the chest, or it drops down to his chest. So that's what this is for. That's what this represents. Now maybe he has a little bit more of a sad or scared face than I would like. I would prefer it to have been maybe a little bit more angry, because when he did this, he was trying to scare Scrooge into, you know, heeding his advice and the fact that he was about to be visited by some spirits. And, you know, he wasn't believing him. He said he was more gravy than grave, which is, I love that. He was, you know, he was saying he was just some undigested food. And it's a great line. And a lot of people say, well, I want this look, but without the bandage. But that, unfortunately, that's just how this character works. When you remove the bandage, you get this, and that's just, you live with it. He either has a gaping jaw or he's got this goofy looking bandage thing. But that's not, I would say, the main accessory, because one of the things that Jacob Marley is known for is his chains. He forged chains in life through his greed and his hatefulness, and that he has to carry around in death. Let me just say that Four Horsemen did not skimp on the chains. I'm not going to cut away like I have been on here, because I want to show you, if you haven't seen it, how to get these chains on. Everything else, the hands, the head, they just pop and swap. You just pop them off. And in fact, one of the nice things about Four Horsemen stuff is pretty much everything can be popped out. The arms, this wrist part, the hands, the legs, because they encourage you to pop and swap and kind of create your own figures. And that's one of my favorite parts of the line. With this next part, to get it on, I recommend removing the head because it just makes things easier, but you have to remove the arms. So we're gonna do that. Now to do that, I just do some gentle but constant pressure. And you wanna do the pressure right here at the base. You don't wanna pull from down here. You wanna kind of pull from up here. And if you're having trouble, like that, ooh, you can heat up the joint, and that will make it a lot more malleable. Now you can see here, this is some paint wear coming off, and you can actually see down here, this is how much paint has sloughed off. Again, that's just kind of how this works. We're gonna do the other arm now. There we go. That one was easier. So now we have something that looks like this. Now, if you want to, obviously you can remove the jacket and whatnot by doing it this way. The problem is like the arms have the arms of the jacket on them. But what we have here is this mound of chains and harness and lock boxes and books and keys, and it's incredible. Now, I watched a video that Four Horsemen put out on how to do this, and in that video he mentioned that this could happen, and it did on mine, and I babied it, but they did this on purpose, so I gave it a break point if it needed it. But there's a spot right here that can come off. You can glue this back together, or you can just tuck it in when it's on and no one will notice. But they did it on purpose just so, if it did strain too much, it would break there instead of someplace that's important. Now, another unfortunate thing for me is I did have a breakage in the chain. It was my fault when I was trying to take the arms off after I'd put the harness on so I could do this review, without the harness on. I didn't realize that I had one of the chains attached to a finger while I was pulling on the arm, and when the arm pulled out, it pulled the chain too on this side and it broke it right off. Now, these are real metal, so the break point was easy to fix. I just kind of pushed it back together. It was kind of hard to get back together, so I'm pretty confident that it won't fall back apart, but that is something to keep in mind of is these are metal chains, but they're not like unbreakable chains. So just something to keep in mind. Now, to get this on, it's pretty easy. We just kind of slide it over, and I'll go over all the chains once I get everything on here. So this kind of goes on there, and then again, I'll probably glue this with super glue once I kind of get it on and a point where I'm just going to keep it that way without fiddling with it, which is probably after this review, to be honest with you. I'm pretty much done taking it on and off after this review, but that is what it is, and it just kind of stays like that, so it's not a big deal. You'll never notice. So once we have that on, we just need to put the stuff back on. We just need to put the arms back on. So they just kind of go in here, and you push until you hear the pop, like that. There we go. And let's put the regular head on here for now. We can swap it off so I can show you how he looks. But that is Jacob Marley with his chains and coffers and books and keys. And there is so much on here. So let's take a look. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm not entirely sure I put the chains back on right. I kind of mirrored what was on the other side. So I don't know if maybe there was something attached to this bottom one like there is on this one that I got wrong, but it doesn't really matter. They're chains. There's not like a right way or wrong way. It's really not a big deal, but you can see here, so we have things like this. We have these chains with keys on them, locks on them. They're just there to show his punishment, which is to wander the earth with chains and other various tools of his trade, because that's what he was, a banker. So things like the lock boxes and stuff were, what he loved in life. So it's what he had to carry around in death, basically. And we even have the Figura Obscura key here, which is pretty cool. There's so many different keys, and I think every key is pretty different. We have this chain here. We'll go over. So we have a lock and a key. We got a lock and then a book. And the books are removable. Like this just pops off if you want to take the book off. It's not a big deal, but I don't think the book opens or anything, but it's sort of like a ledger book is what that is. This one, again, is just a chain with some keys and locks on it. So on the side here, we have more keys with a different book. We have another book, a key with some locks. So we have another chain here with this. Now the lids do come off these coffers, which is neat. They just kind of pull right off like that, and they just pop right back on. So you didn't break it if it pops off. And there's obviously more keys and whatnot there. We have another key with a different coffer. And again, that coffer opens up if you want to pull it. Down here, we got more keys, more coffers. We got a couple different coffers, so I'm not going to go into it. But the big thing here is this just big ass safe. It's just a gigantic ass safe that he just kind of drags around. It's got wheels, but the wheels don't move. The paint on it is fantastic. It's got some great just detailing in there, and the door does open. Now there's nothing in mine, but there is an accessory that I'll go over with in a little bit. He just has a ton of stuff hanging off of him. That's what he's supposed to look like. This is the Jacob Marley who scares Scrooge into being a good person. Now, if you want to, it does come with a whole bag of 10 more keys, the same keys that are already on there. These are just there, I guess, if you want to attach more, you can, or if you just want to use keys for different reasons. They gave you replacement keys. They're all the same key. Even that Figura Obscura key is in there. I'm not going to take these out, but it's the same keys, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, when I display him, my plan is actually just to put him on this flight stand that I got. This is just a cheap kind of knockoff flight stand from Amazon, where he's just going to kind of hang out on my shelf. You know, I'm going to point his toes down and kind of make him look like he's floating in the air, because he's a ghost. He's a spooky ghost. So this is basically how I'm going to be displaying. Now, they never said he float. Charles Dickens, to my knowledge, never wrote that he floated, but he is a ghost. And Jacob and what was the other Marley's name in the Muppets Christmas Carol? I can't remember right now. But they floated the whole time, the whole song they sang. So I don't have any problems with making mine float. And I think it's a cool looking effect to have him sort of floating in the air. Now, again, I did say I had one last accessory, and that is an extra head that was hidden in the safe. Now, they kind of do this. This is the third Christmas Figura Obscura, and it's the third kind of hidden head we've had. The first one was Krampus, and he had some skulls hidden in his little basket here when we got it, which was neat. And then they did the same thing with Father Christmas. He came with a little sack, you know, full with toys. Oh, I'm gonna get that out of his face so you can see him. Since he is sort of Santa Claus, they gave him a sack of toys, and in there were some night heads, which was pretty cool. But again, they were kind of supposed to be like a fun surprise secret. And when they preview these, you know, they send them out to people to review them, like Dork Lair. If you've ever seen his videos, they're great, but he always gets like a review copy, sometimes Toy Bro. But they always say, you know, like, hold off on showing these because we want people to be surprised. The problem is, if you go on Facebook groups, they didn't want to adhere to these, just being nice to other people and letting them enjoy being surprised if they wanted to, just for a couple weeks. You know, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get these. I got mine in about a week, but sometimes it could take up to 3 weeks depending on where you live in the United States, you know? So I just think it's a common courtesy thing to just kind of hold off on posting these surprises, because they are sort of intended to be that way. You know, they talk about them in the descriptions like they're a surprise. They don't have the person doing the pre-review to show off the surprise. So it's clearly intended to be that way. And it's sad to me that there are people out there that just can't play ball. But, you know, the basically said, if you don't like it, you can leave. So I did. It's not a big deal. I didn't make a big deal about it. I just did. If you still haven't gotten this and you want to be surprised, this is the head I want to show off. And it is this. And wow, is this head cool. This is worthy of a surprise. This is like a Man in the Iron Mask type skull. It's got a lock hanging from a chain. It's just got a lot of great sculpting, a lot of great detailing. I do have the Valiant Knight here. Now this has got the wrong peg on the neck, so it won't fit on super properly. He comes with both the old and the new one, so I won't get it all the way down. Oh, I guess it kind of did. Never mind, just kidding, it's good. That's the Valiant Knight, the new one I kind of mentioned earlier, with that head on there. And man, this thing just looks friggin' cool. Love it so much. So that's something you get in the safe when you buy Jacob Marley. It's just a fun extra piece that you can play around with. They're so much fun. I have Father Christmas here. I've had him on my shelf all year because I love him so much. I don't want to put him away for Christmas. He sits on Aldor the Moose. I love that. You know, with that's my review of Jacob Marley, or my overview. But I can give it a score. And my score is, wow. I love it. The paint, the detailing, the parts, the accessories. Yes, it's a little expensive. I mean, honestly, after the $60 charge and then like $16 or so to ship it to me from New Jersey. It was like $76, $77. It was a bit expensive, but now that I have it, I don't care how much it cost me. I love this. It's gonna sit on my shelf all year round. Same as Krampus, same as Father Christmas, even though they're holiday figures. They're just so cool. And it's fun to have these parts. If I do ever want to kind of pop and swap, I've got more parts to play around with. Although I don't know if I will with Jacob Marley because it is a little fragile. The paint does have a tendency to chip off more so than any of these other figures I've got on screen. And you know, I've already broken the chains accidentally and I have to glue that back harness on, which again is not the end of the world. I fixed them. You know, and it was kind of my fault. I was a little rougher than I thought I was being with it. It's worth it. It's so worth it. This is a good figure. So if you're into literary stuff or just Christmas stuff, it's probably a good option for you. If you're looking to get into the line, this is a good starting spot. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for getting this far. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to. I want to thank these people here for supporting me on Patreon. It's super, super nice that you guys do that. I love each and every one of you. Let me know down in the downstairs area if you got this or if this video made you want to get it. I love to read and respond to the comments when I can. And with that, I will see you later. Bye.